almost a $5 million house.
Almost
in
a
two
$5
weeks.
million house in 2 weeks. I get a call. I was in the office, probably in the morning, and I get a call from the New York Yankees.
Welcome back to Real Estate and Chill. I'm your host, Kevin Iglesias. Today in the building, we got my man all the way from New Jersey. You're going to see us speaking on a panel together in the upcoming months. We got my boy, George Castro in the building. Let's go!
How are you?
Yo.
Nice to see you. How are you doing?
Of course, man. I appreciate
Good?
you coming.
I'm excited.
You dress sharp. You look like the president
You
out
have
here.
to be. You have to be. As are you.
Everything is good, man.
Yeah.
I'm excited to have you here. How long was the drive? I know you hit a couple of road bumps.
It was we're 20 minutes from Manhattan. We're from Union County, New Jersey, so it was around 2 hours and 30 minutes. A long drive, but it gave me time to prepare for this podcast.
Well, I appreciate you coming out, man. That shows, it's a big compliment when somebody
Yeah.
drives out that far to come and sit on the show and they, educate our audience and share a little bit about your story. So can you give us a little insight of who you are, how long you've been in the business, how old you are? Because you're young, man. You're crushing it.
I'm young. I'm 22 years old. I've been in the business ever since I was very young. My father's a broker. He's the broker of Premier Homes. So I've been around the business ever since I was very young. I would be around it. I would watch him do deals and negotiate and meet with people. So
It's in your blood.
It's in my blood. It's in my DNA. And I was born with it. I think you're born with a certain drive, and I think I was born with it. But I've been licensed for 3 years. Within those 3 years, I've had a lot of experience. As they say, a pilot, it's not about how long you've been a pilot, but it's about the mileage that you have while being a pilot. And I can tell you in the 3 years that I've been a realtor, I have a lot of miles. And we're only just getting started.
I'm glad you said that because when I speak to seasoned agents, they'll always say, you know how long I've been in the business?
Yeah.
20 plus years.
Yeah.
And then you look them up and they've only done 20 deals in those 20 years.
Yeah.
So experience matters when you're out in the field and you're active, which you are active. It's a big difference, right?
Right.
A good friend of mine, he's also, basically his family is in the business as well. He grew up around it his whole life in real estate. And it's funny, he cracked a joke at a panel that we were doing. And he said, I'm a SOB, son of a broker.
Yeah.
It's in his blood.
Yeah.
But you're accomplishing amazing things, right? What made you finally take the step and say, all right, I want to do this? Because you didn't have to go this route.
I didn't have to go this route. I will tell you that I've always had some sort of a drive for business, for deal making, for negotiations. As you said, it's always been in my blood. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't do it. Although my father took the path to do real estate, I just enjoy the art of it. I wake up every morning and I think you need to, it's cliche and everybody says it, but you really need to love what you do. Because I think in business, at any structure or at any magnitude, you have failures, you have shortcomings. And I think if you enjoy and you love what you do, it allows you to push through that. If you don't love what you do, something happens, the market collapses, and it's very easy to give up. I believe strongly in moving forward, never giving up, never quitting. And I've had many friends of mine, Kevin, they start a business, they're doing well, they go through something and they quit or they give up. And it's because they don't love the business the way they should. So I think it's very important to love what you do. I've always loved real estate. I'm going to do real estate until the day I die, amongst other things, but I strongly believe in that.
Now, because you're only 22, right?
I'm only 22.
A lot of people your age are not as focused, right? They're out partying, gambling, doing a whole bunch of other things, but they're not building a business as young as you are. So I commend you. A lot of respect to you. My hat's off to you. What you're doing is amazing. 60 plus deals. How many deals have you done so far?
I've probably done around $50 million in deals.
Nice.
And I like sports. I like deals. I always say a lot of people like sports. They like going out. They like going to the bar. I like making deals and I like doing real estate. That for me is my hobby. I don't go to work every morning saying I have to do real estate or I have to go to work. I go to work because I truly enjoy it. I find some sort of a passion in it. And that I think allows me to keep me motivated and keep me moving forward.
Aside from that, what would you say sets you apart from everybody else?
I would say my age first and foremost, and I think it's an advantage. A lot of times people see their age, whether they be 22 or 20 or 21 or just getting into the business at 18, and they say, how am I going to make money? I'm only 18 years old. I need somebody to take me seriously, a seller who's selling a $1 or a $2 or a $3 million home. how can I present myself in a way where that person takes me seriously? I see it for me as an advantage. I'm very well spoken, I'm very professional, and I think the earlier you start, the more time you'll essentially have. And you go through experience, you know, you learn, you have good days, you have bad days, you have days in the middle. Every deal's different. Deals fall through, deals close, you know the business. But for me, I see it as an advantage because people, I think when you're young, and I say this to all the young realtors who are watching the show, your age shouldn't be a barrier. It should not be a barrier. I think if you are well-spoken, if you present yourself the proper way, people will see beyond the age. But it's just about the way you speak, the way you present yourself, and the way that you do business. And if you do business the right way, and if you're presentable, people will see past your age. So for me, I think it's an advantage.
No, it clearly is, and you're right about that. You're well-dressed, well-spoken, obviously you're knowledgeable, right? What would you say was one of your biggest challenges getting into the business? I'm assuming, you know, you've dealt with rejection, right? How do you handle that, and how does that make you better in the field?
I would say the biggest challenge at the start of my career, I'm in school right now, I'm in college, so I think it was delegating time. You know, I would have assignments to do, I would have essays, and I would have to delegate that within doing closings and attending inspections and so forth. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of time management. But I think slowly you start understanding your time, using time the proper way, because everybody has the same 24 hours. But there's some people that could maximize and use their time probably 10 or 20 times better than somebody else. So I really learned a lot from that. That was probably a big challenge for me. At the beginning, when I was young, when I was 18, I wasn't as seasoned as I am today because I was just leaving high school. I went to a very good high school in New Jersey, a private school. But I would say the biggest one was time management. I've been able to get through that because, you know, I balanced the school and the real estate and the Ritz Theater and all these other businesses that I'm working on to ultimately accomplish what I want to accomplish. Another thing that I always harp on is you need to have a sense of urgency. You know, you need to move quickly. It's huge. The most successful and the greatest people in the world who accomplished something had a sense of urgency. You know, it needs to be accomplished today. What can I accomplish within this week or within this month that perhaps would take somebody else a year or 2 or 3 years? Sense of urgency is very important. I've always had that. I've always had the drive, and that allows me to succeed.
What are you going to school for? You're still in school?
I'm still in school. I'm a senior right now. I'm going to be graduating next semester.
That's awesome.
And I'm going for business administration.
Business administration,
Yeah.
Okay. So everything is just business aligned.
Everything's business. I enjoy business.
I want to circle back. So you own a theater, correct?
I own a theater.
What's the theater's name?
It's the Ritz Theater in Elizabeth, New Jersey. It's a 3,000-seat theater.
Wow.
It's a huge theater and it's beautiful. You know, Art Deco. My father purchased it in 1994.
Wow.
And between 2000, I'll tell you the story. He went with his brother Maurice, my uncle, and they were renting the theater for a huge Colombian soccer game. My father's Colombian. And they sold out the theater because back then you couldn't see a game on your television. You would have to go to a place to actually see it. They rented out the theater, who was owned by an American businessman. They sold out the place. Colombia, who was playing in the game against Argentina, won 5-0. And it was this huge thing. They made a lot of money. My uncle turned to my father and he said, "Why don't we buy this place?" And a few months later, they bought the theater. And I was born in 2002. From 2002 to 2008, they spent, I believe, $10 or $15 million in renovating the place.
Wow.
Because the theater then isn't what the theater is now.
I can imagine.
And I work heavily with booking artists, and I buy artists and performances, and I want to do conventions in the future as well.
Yeah, we were speaking of that off camera. You know, that'd be a big theater, the big landmark.
Yeah, and we're going to do it. We're going to do it. There's a lot of conventions that go on, smaller conventions, but I think if we did something big with some of the biggest speakers from LA, from New York, I think we would pack the place in a heartbeat, and that would be a hell of a show.
I think it'll be the biggest real estate event of the year.
Yeah, we're going to have to do it.
Okay, so you book artists, right? Have you dealt with any celebrities as far as real estate wise? Like, have you sold anything or in the works of? Honestly, you can't speak on it, but
no, I'll speak on it. I've worked with a lot of artists. You know, entertainment is different from real estate because entertainment is not regulated. Real estate, it's regulated. You have attorneys, you have laws, you have bylaws. Entertainment is a little bit more of a street business, no regulations. You have to trust somebody's word. Your reputation is very important. So we book artists, we buy artists. I've booked Raul Alejandro. I did Blessed, who's a Colombian artist. Many artists. We did a show at the Ritz last year, Tokisha. She's a big Dominican artist. You probably know her.
Yeah.
And I get a call. I was in the office, probably in the morning, and I get a call from the New York Yankees. And this was pretty awesome. A representative from the Yankees tells me, you have this big show. It's 2 days before the playoffs. I'm a big baseball fan. And they were facing the Guardians in the first round of the playoffs. So he tells me, we have 3 Yankee players who would like to attend today's concert with their wives. Can you make it happen? I'll give you the credit card, whatever it costs. Obviously, I'm not going to charge the Yankees, the New York Yankees. The show was all sold out. So I said, I need to get them a ticket, but everything's sold out.
Yeah.
And I need to put them in the first row. I'm not going to put them in the middle of the theater. They need to be in the first row.
Of course, that's priority.
So what we did is we called up the patrons who had purchased those tickets in the first row. We bought them out. We paid them 3 times what they had paid for those tickets.
Wow.
And we put the Yankees, Giancarlo Stanton, Nestor Cortez, some of the biggest players, and another Yankee there in the first row. They had a hell of a time. They watched the show. I spoke to them. It was a phenomenal experience. It was 2 days before the playoffs. So they were doing certain things that I'm not going to speak to right here on air. And they told me, just make sure there's no cameras, there's no recording, nothing. Because if this comes out and the New York media sees it 2 days before the playoffs and we don't perform the way that we should, this is going to be an issue. So I respected that. And they had a great time.
But what you did, a lot of people won't do. But you understand that relationships matter, right? Relationships come first before anything in business. Like you said, your word is basically your bond, right? As far as celebrities, is there anybody that you have like a close relationship with that you met, you guys hit it off? And
I have a good relationship, and I actually met him 3 years ago for the first time. He's a Colombian soccer player, James Rodriguez, probably one of the biggest celebrities in Colombia. He has 50 million followers on Instagram. And we may actually list his house in Colombia, a mansion that he owns. We're working on that right now. He was in New Jersey. He's good friends of one of the clients that I did business with. So I get a call one evening from my client, a good friend of mine as well, and he tells me, George, James is here in the United States. He wants to play basketball. I play basketball. I've always been a sports guy. We're going to pick you up tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. from your house, and we're going to play 2-3 hours. So he came to my house, James Rodriguez, with my client. They picked me up. We went to play basketball, and we had a good time. And I still talk to him every so often. He's invited us to Qatar, where he was playing before, and Brazil to see his games.
that's amazing.
And he has a house that he wants to sell in Medellin. So I think we're going to be doing something with that shortly.
It's amazing, connections that you can make in this business and what they could lead to later on, right? As far as concert-wise, anybody that you saw perform that you're like, wow, this is mind-blowing?
I would say the biggest performance that I've seen, in my honest opinion, in the 3-4 years, because I'm 22, so I've only been involved in the Ritz Theater and the real estate, I would say about 4 or 5 years. I really started when I was 16, 17. I would say is Raul Alejandro. He had a hell of a show with confetti and with the CO2s and the cannons. It was sold out. We have a 2,800 person capacity, but there were probably 3,200, 3,300 people in the theater.
Allegedly. Not breaking any rules.
It was a packed show. It was an amazing show. And I like the art of performing. Some people are better than others in putting on a show and entertaining and performing. He's a very good entertainer. Tokisha, who's just a very exotic, she's a crazy, but she really gets the crowd going. She's a very good entertainer. And it's surprising because you meet Tokisha prior to her putting on her uniform, and she's a very calm, timid, normal girl. But as soon as the lights go on, she totally changes, and she puts on a hell of a show.
That's entertainment, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
entertainment.
that's entertainment.
What are your thoughts on, because you're young, right? And there's, with the NAR settlement and everything that's going on, I feel a lot of the younger agents, the newer agents are worried because now they're like, oh, there's a lot of fear mongering. I don't know how I'm going to conduct business. And a lot of people left the industry in 2023. What are your thoughts on everything that's going on?
I think first and foremost, allow me to start off with saying, I think the NAR in the lawsuit, I read the lawsuit, I read the briefings, I read the counterclaims, I read everything. I think they were horribly represented. I think the legal counsel from the NAR, I think did a terrible job. I think, and I probably shouldn't be saying that because I'm a member of the NAR, but I really think it was a case that they should have and they could have won if the argument was just proper. I think they were badly represented. You look at the jury, and I believe 8 or 9 jury members have never owned a home. They've never participated in anything real estate related. So I just think they shouldn't have settled. I think they botched it. They should have won the case. They could have won the case. But the argument within the attorneys and the legal counsel just wasn't proper, in my opinion.
It's all about presentation, I tell people, and how you present something and how you bring it to the table. I agree with you. I was watching the whole thing, and they were very confident on, we're going to fight this, we're going to overcome this, we're going to win this, and then all of a sudden it came out of nowhere, all right, we're going to settle. Yeah. And at the end of the day, if you really look at all the money that's being made, the money's going to the attorneys. I think the homeowners are making anywhere from like $10 to $17 per homeowner in the case. So it's very interesting, right? Everything that's going on. But I always say, look, if you're a true businessman, a businesswoman, a hustler, you're gonna have to adapt with the changes. Because if you don't,
I agree.
If you don't adapt, then you die.
I think personally, I see it as an opportunity. I'm excited for what's to come, and I really don't think, Kevin, anything's gonna change. I'm more concerned not about what's gonna happen to the market and the settlement. I'm more concerned about the reaction of real estate agents who don't know what they're doing, or who don't know how to conduct their business. You see agents, it still hasn't passed by the DOJ, and you're already seeing agents put a 0% or 1% commission. So I'm more concerned not with what's going to happen, because I think the market's going to remain the same. Commissions were coupled, now they're decoupled, with the reaction of realtors who probably are conducting themselves or giving advice to their client or suggestions to their clients that probably isn't the right thing to say. I will say that, as you mentioned, hustlers, those who know how to negotiate, those who know how to pick up the phone, I think are going to make much more money, because now it's a free market. You can submit an offer 50, 60, 70 above asking price, and you can pick up the phone and tell an agent, listen, I have this offer for you, but I'd like to negotiate a 3 or a 4% commission. Your house has been on the market for so-and-so time. Let's make something happen. Let's come to the table and let's compromise. Those agents and the listing agents are going to make a fortune. And the agents who are panicking, and there's going to be a lot of people who leave the business, who flee the business, not because they should, but because they don't have the mentorship, the coaching, and they probably aren't prepared for what's to come. Things are going to change. I'm not saying things aren't going to change, but those who truly know how to do their business, how to negotiate, are the ones that are going to reign supreme. And I see it as an opportunity. Many times you're working with a buyer, and you know it because you're in the business, who don't even have enough money for their down payment or their closing costs, let alone a commission. So how are you going to expect the buyer to pay a $10 or a $15 or a $20,000 commission when they barely have any money to pay for their deal? So I think it's, as I mentioned, the agents who know how to build the commission into the purchase price, who know how to negotiate. I see these houses listed at 0%. I show those houses because I know nobody else is showing them. And if I have an offer, I can practically negotiate whatever I want.
And it's sad, because that's the reason why either people fail or they really succeed, is information, right? And I think the people who are misinformed, the agents who are misinformed and have that fear mindset, they're just going to crash. I do agree with you that nothing's going to change. The verbiage is changing. It's decoupled now, right? That you can't basically advertise a commission on MLS, right? But I think we're going to feel it regarding the discount brokers. The brokers are like, oh, well, I listed at one, I'll list it at this.
Which listing at a lower percentage for a seller does not benefit the seller.
No, I agree.
It doesn't benefit the seller, because you need, and I always say this to the sellers whom I work with, the commission is like the bait for realtors. If you're offering a 1 or a 0 or a 2% commission, you're not going to get the activity and the attention that you want. So you're trying to save 2 or 3%. In the process, you may be losing 10 or 15, because there's going to be a lot of people who aren't showing your property and are showing other properties because of the commissions you're offering. So it doesn't benefit a seller to list at 1% or 2% or not offer a commission, because they're not going to get the opportunities that they would have gotten if they would have offered something. The commission is the incentive for people to show your property and for you to ultimately get the price that you're looking for.
I completely agree with you, and I gotta say, I've done so many transactions. I never had one person that said to me that, you know, I feel like you're overpaid or that you weren't worth your services. What we provide is a service. I tell people we're in a service business. Just because it's cheaper does not mean that it's better, right? I see so many people with houses that expire that I go after because I'm a big caller.
Yeah.
They say my agent sucked, never did open houses, never did any marketing.
Yeah.
And I always ask them, all right, well, what was the rate that, and they tell me, I'm like, well, what do you expect? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't expect high-end results and you're not paying, you know, what you're supposed to.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you. It's interesting everything that's going to happen. But I would say this, the strongest are going to survive. We're going to see a lot of people, again, leave the business. We're going to see the top dogs rise to the top and continue to make a lot of money, a lot of connections, and do a lot of business. As far as your short years in the business, right? You've been killing it, crushing it. What's been your biggest deal thus far that you've closed and you're like, man, like this is amazing. This feels good.
My biggest deal was a mansion for $4.367 million.
Wow.
And it was recognized as the most expensive residential sale by a 21-year-old ever in the United States. It was a 4.367 mansion. It was a for sale by owner, one of the biggest builders and developers in New York. Very smart guy, very well connected. And he's a commercial builder in Manhattan. He builds hospitals and he builds towers. He decided to build this property in Spring Lake, which is a prestigious town, as some sort of a hobby. It was listed with 2 agents prior to us. They couldn't get the job done. We came in, we presented our offer, we presented our marketing plan, and we were able to get it sold. And we sold it for $372,000 more than the asking price. And
What?
we sold it in 2-3 weeks, which for
Almost a $5 million house.
almost
in
a
2
$5
weeks.
million house in 2 weeks. Because we sell a lot of luxurious properties in New Jersey. And I think the buyers in this market who are buying those properties and who are willing to spend the money, and you're from New York, so you're going to appreciate this, are the buyers from New York, from Brooklyn, from Queens, from Manhattan. Not so much somebody from New Jersey, because somebody from New York appreciates the space more. They're paying more money for a smaller apartment. You go to Manhattan and you're paying $10, $11, $12, $13,000 for a small, tiny apartment, when you can go to New Jersey, have a better quality of life, have better school systems, have parking, raise your family in a much better environment, and you're paying a little bit more, but you're living in a house. So I think the buyer for this house was from Manhattan. He's a heart surgeon. He put a $3 million down payment, and we got the deal done.
So you're saying New Jersey's better than New York?
I've always been a New York kid. I love New York. I've never lived in New York, but I've always had some sort of an affinity towards New York. I want to work in New York.
You're licensed in New York.
I'm licensed in New York. I've done deals in New York. I want to be a developer and I want to do construction in New York, in Manhattan. That's what I want to do because New York is the capital of the world. And if you're going to do something, I think you should do it at the highest levels. So I grew up in New Jersey. I was raised in New Jersey, but I see myself as a New Yorker.
So let me ask you a question, because that's impressive. Almost a $5 million house, got it under contract in, what, 14 days? In
about
weeks?
2-3 weeks.
Okay,
yeah.
in about 2-3 weeks. It's very impressive. What set you guys apart from those other 2 companies, and how you got to produce those results? Was it social media? Like, what was it exactly? Because I think people would definitely appreciate and gain some value and knowledge from
Right.
that.
I think it was the listing price of the property. We listed it for $3.95 million. And the seller, when we met with him, and we met with him 5-6 times in a beautiful mansion in Upper Saddle River that he owns, he told us, after having listed previously for 4.3 and 4.2, why would I list the property for 3.95 if I want 4.3 or 4.4? And we told him, list it for this price. We're going to generate attention, we're going to generate a bidding war, and we're going to get the number that you're looking for. And that's exactly what we did. You see auctions, Kevin. You list something at $1 and it sells for $1 million. But if you would have started that item for $1 million, probably you don't even get half of it. We listed it low. We had 30-40 showings. The property was being shown in spades. And that allowed us to generate offers and get the price that we were looking to get. We listed at a high commission, which incentivized realtors to show that property. And the seller was very happy. He was very happy. He got what he was looking for and then some, and we got the deal done.
That's amazing, man, and congrats, because I'm sure that was a nice big paycheck, and it must have felt.
Yeah. It was a six-figure. Yeah.
It must have felt really, really good.
Yeah.
Real estate creates the most millionaires, right? And I think if you're disciplined, you're presentable, you're educated, well-spoken, that there's so many opportunities that can come your way. You just have to be hungry. You have to have the desire to succeed, and you do, man. And it's impressive. It's impressive to see in such a young guy. So I commend you. I respect you for that.
Yeah.
How big is social media? Because even before we started following each other, I would see the brokerage very big on social media.
Right.
Like how
You've
big
always
is that?
seen the company big on.
Yeah. Like on like sponsorship. Oh, it would just pop up in the algorithm.
Right.
I'm like,
Premier Homes.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I was like, wow, these guys' marketing it's amazing. It
Yeah.
gets your attention.
Right. I think social media is very important. You see and I don't want to mention franchises, but you see the Remaxes and the Keller Williams. And if I were the owner of some of these franchises, I would have a marketing department and a social media team only dedicated to pushing Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. You look at the Instagrams of some of these companies, and they're almost non-existent. They post once every 2-3 weeks, and they're really not capitalizing the way they should be on the internet, on social media, which I think today is the biggest thing and the biggest way to market. You get more bang for your buck. You get the most eyeballs. You see, politics-wise, how big of a marketing social media and how big of a game that it could play. We attack social media. We have a full-fledged marketing team. We have our videographer here today. And every single day we're coming up with ideas, with content, doing videos at closings, at listings, and really pushing out that content, because that ultimately becomes your brand. And when you brand yourself, you're able to take the company to the next level.
So you have a big following on social media, right? 10,000 plus. I think it was what, 16, 17,000, right?
Yeah.
Have you been recognized from your content, you know, because you guys are a big company out there, right? Big brokerage. Have you been recognized from your content out in public, or, you know, from other agents in the industry that love your content? Just like you walked in here like, man, I love your energy, I love the content.
Yeah.
Have you been recognized from the content, anything that you're doing?
I was actually at the luxury real estate convention in New York, the one that we were talking about before off air. And I walked in there, and I had probably 5, 6, 7 people come up to me asking for photos that I've never met or I've never seen before. And they come up to me and they tell me, I see you on social media. I'd like to take a photo. You inspire me. Mostly a lot of young people, because I'm young, a lot of older people as well. You inspire me. You know, I've been following you for 2-3 years. Can I take a photo? And you know what? That's what I aim to do. I aim to inspire people. I aim to motivate people, because I want to see others doing well. And if I could help somebody who's young, who's just starting and getting into the business, take their career to the next level and take their life to the next level, just by a means of them watching me and watching the things I do, I think that I'm accomplishing something. That's my goal, to inspire others, to motivate others.
I agree with you. I think regardless of any company that you're with, you should be building a personal brand, right? Because same thing, I get recognized from the content. I was getting a haircut at my barber, and my barber is not like a barber shop. He has a suite within a couple of offices.
Right.
And a guy was walking by, and he opens the door, and we both turn around. He's like, "Oh, you're the real estate guy." He's like, yeah. He's like, "You got a card on you?" I was like, I just came out the gym, so I didn't have anything on me. He's like, "All right, I'll DM you on Instagram." He's like, "I see the content all the time." So that's like you were saying, social media has so much power. You get the most eyeballs and going to the events and being recognized. Not only that, but it helps you with your peers in the industry, right?
Yeah.
Because they know that you're knowledgeable, that you have the credibility, and they trust you because you're getting the deals done, and you know you're. It's impressive because you're in school as well, and this is, man, like, you don't have kids yet, I'm assuming.
I don't have kids
Yeah,
yet.
so
I don't have kids yet, and I probably won't have kids anytime soon. Eventually, I'll get to it, and I would like to have 6, 7, 8 kids.
Wow.
I say that, and some people, they're like, 8 kids, but I like having a big family. I think it's fun. I think you enjoy it. I think raising a kid is some sort of a creation process. You kind of breed them and you show them the ropes and you can talk business with them. So I enjoy having a nice big family. Eventually I'll have it, but I'm not focused on that just yet.
You're young. You got years to go.
Yeah.
That's the Spanish side of you, though, having wanted to have a big family.
Yeah.
How big is your dad in your career, in your life? Because So you're fully Colombian, or you're...
My father was born in Colombia.
Okay.
My mother's from Spain, and I was born here in the United States.
I was telling Ann, our
And
camera
I
guy.
speak it well.
Yeah?
I speak it well.
I don't know why. I felt like you were like European or something. I feel like you have like an Arnold Schwarzenegger accent, like a very deep, like presidential accent.
Right, right.
I would have never expected. But the last name, I mean,
With the
Castro.
last name, sometimes I walk into rooms and people can imagine that I speak Spanish. So people who are Spanish try talking to me in English because you look at me and I don't look
Yeah.
Spanish. I don't have that appearance. And then I say a word in Spanish and I start speaking well and people are taken aback. Yeah. But I think it's important to know both languages.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
more so at the highest levels because you can deal with people from this side, you can deal with them with this side. And
well, Hispanic ownership nationwide is up 40%, so it's a
Yeah.
big market.
Yeah.
You know, being able to speak English and Spanish, you're helping a lot more people, a lot more opportunities, and helping the business grow. Back to the question, as far as like your dad, because I'm sure he was a big mentor, plays a big part in your career and success. How important is that to have somebody who's knowledgeable, who has your back, who supports you? How has that been able to mold you as the young man that you are now?
I think it's very important. I have a wonderful father. I've always been very close to my father, and he was my mentor ever since I was very young. You know, he showed me the ropes of real estate. He showed me the ropes of business. And I think it's very important to have a mentor, whether it be a parent, whether it be a father, whether it be another mentor when you're growing in business. Because when you're young, you're learning, you're wet behind the ears, and you're just starting to inch into the business. He's always been my mentor. I continue learning from him. Now it's more so at a point where we do business together and we can have conversations. He's one of my mentors. I read a lot of books. I watch a lot of interviews. I'm very big into that. And I study some of the most successful people in the world in what relates to success, to accomplishments, because I think that if you want to reach a certain point, you need to understand what it takes, the resilience needed, or the knowledge that you need to reach that certain point. So I study these people, I read a lot, and that's what empowers me, along with my father, to be more knowledgeable.
It's amazing, man. Again, congratulations to all your success, everything that you're doing. Again, we're going to be speaking on a panel together in New York City in the upcoming months. Our camera guy's breaking things over there. We got to do something, man, really, really big at the Ritz-Carlton.
We have to do some. I like doing things big. We have to do something big, and I'm happy we connected because I think we see eye to eye.
Of course,
and we can really put something together.
I think so too. Anything you want to leave us off with? Again, I appreciate you coming here, man. 3 hours. You know, it's a long drive back.
Yeah.
You know, I always tell people, look, when people give you their time, it's worth more than money. Right, this business and in life in general, it's all about relationships, and time is something that you can't get back. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you being here, man. It's good to see you and finally meet you.
No, likewise.
From social media, right?
I see you on social media. I've been following you for probably 2 or 3 years.
Really?
When I was first starting real estate.
Really?
And I've always seen your energy, you know, the videos. You have a good spirit, and I like that, and I appreciate that. And I think much more realtors or more people should have the energy and the spirit that you have. Because I like the way you approach things. You're a top producer. So I really, when I saw you, grew close to you. And I'm happy that you called me to the podcast. It's an honor to be here.
I appreciate that, man. Anything else that you can leave us off with, man?
Just continue moving forward. I'm looking forward to the future. I think in what relates to the settlement, I think you need to be resilient. You need to be strong. You need to be tough. And as you mentioned before, those who are the top producers, those who aren't scared to pick up the phone and negotiate and make things happen, and those who remain positive, don't be negative. You know, you see things on the news, on the media, and it's very easy to become negative or fall into the trap of what people are saying. So always remain positive and keep moving forward.
Where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram tag is George Castro IV. You can call me 908, I'll drop my phone number, 908-875-8793, and you can reach out to me anytime.
What other big concerts are coming up in the theater
If you go to richtheater.com, we have 30 or 40.
Man,
so we're jam-packed. Every weekend we have 2 or 3 shows. And if you ever want to come to a show, you tell me and I'll put you front row.
Yankee VIP special.
VIP. Are you a sports guy?
Of course.
Where are your teams?
Yankees, man.
Yeah, I'm a big Yankees guy.
Yeah,
We're playing
of
well
course.
this year. We're in first place. So
Yeah.
let's see.
Yeah, you got to get Judge in front row, man.
Yeah.
You got to slide in the DMs and be like, hey. But, man, again, I appreciate you coming out here. If this is your first time with us, make sure you guys subscribe, hit the like button, the notification bell. George Castro, top producer, all the way from New Jersey, 3-hour drive. I appreciate my guys so much. We'll see you guys on the next one.